So I like to end with this one because it's kind of like a little bit of a raucous one. I guess that one was kind of raucous too, but this one's a little bit different. This is actually on an album that I released in 2021 called Manifestations. It's the first track on it, which is called Summoner. It's called Summoner because when I wrote it, it reminded me of a theme that I would have written if I was trying to summon a spirit. So let's see how this one goes. Summoner.
AJ Rosales here in the Q4 studio. Thanks, man. You sound great, dude.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for playing new stuff, man. I think it's always just a welcome thing. Obviously, people want to hear like what the latest tip is, you know?
I mean, I haven't done a recording in a couple of years, so I feel like I'm like obliged to do that.
Sure. Do you feel due in a way? Like, you're looking to get back in the studio soon?
Totally, yeah. I'm hoping to get back in there this year at some point. I'm not sure exactly when. Hopefully this summer, but what I did is, it's funny. So I released this album in 2021 called Manifestations, and promoted it and whatnot. And for some reason, I just felt like I was on a songwriting streak or something after I finished that, and I had all these songs in my back pocket that I was trying to like flesh out. That were still, in their infancy or whatever. And so I challenged myself to finish all that. I thought, well, I'm just going to keep writing and keep going.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I finished 12 songs about like almost a year ago now.
Okay.
And then I thought, well, I'm not finished yet. I'm going to keep going. I have a whole like litany of like little ideas that I've tried to like.
You're going to pull off like a double, triple album. You're going to pull a George Harrison and release it.
So here's the thing. So, I mean, that's a possibility. But the thing for me is that like what I really want to do is I just wanted to have like a bevy of new tunes to just like whip out in the studio.
Yeah.
Like, and so I thought, well, I'm just kind of on a roll here, and I'm going to keep going and see where it leads me. And so I'm right now I'm on song 10 of 12. It's taking me a little bit longer to do these 12 than the first 12, but I'm almost to the point where I have 24 songs that are ready to record.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, and in today's age, that's like 6 albums because so many albums now are released with like 4 songs, and they're called. We used to call those EPs, but now they're actually you'd be like, oh, this is the album, and it's 4 songs, and there's like 12 minutes of music. So,
yeah, and I thought, maybe they deserve to be singles. I have no idea. I haven't figured out all that out because it seems like the music industry doesn't really favor records anymore.
Right. Right.
But I like the idea of a record philosophically because to me it represents like a moment in time for me.
Yeah.
All these songs that kind of go together in some way.
Sure. Yeah, I was going to say, so in listening to doing the deep dive into AJ Rosales as I was doing the last few days. A lot of this music, for some reason, and I can't explain it, a lot of this music kind of makes me nostalgic. Like, especially your older stuff. Like, that's like, and I mean, you've been recording for a while. Your first releases were back in late 90s. And so, and I don't think it's just the time, but there's something about the music that makes me feel nostalgic in a way. And I think part of it is listening to the songwriting. There is... for lack of a better term, kind of a timeless quality. And I think with the things you're singing about are all things that are universal, that we all can relate to. Sure, And so I'm kind of curious as far as, where does your inspiration come from? I know that's kind of a loaded question. It's a big question. But if you're really going to kind of, like, what was it? Is it personal stuff? Are you a news reader? Is this stuff? Or are you just one of these people who sits in bars and listens to other people's conversations and listen?
Actually, I had on that note, I had kind of like a wacky idea where I was going to take, there's inevitably like a person on the train that's like yelling at themselves for some reason. And that's on the CTAs. I thought I'm going to write all these yelling rants down and make a song out of it one day. But, that was an idea I had. But as far as like my process, it's kind of developed a little bit over the years. I think the earlier stuff, maybe I was kind of more moody and trying to like explore my own feelings in some way,
Sure.
But then I kind of went in a little bit more abstract direction because I feel like a lot of my lyrics tend to be abstractions of ideas in some way, and so I don't like to push like a concept on the listener necessarily. I like them to like interpret it in some way, and that's kind of why my lyrics are sometimes ambiguous in some way.
Right.
But they're always, I feel like they have a flow into them lyrically in some way.
I think there's no doubt about that. I think there's definitely. I guess, and also you were talking about philosophically speaking, putting an album out because it's this moment in time. You say you don't want to push anything, but is there also like for yourself? Are you trying to push yourself to something like this album? I have an objective. I have this what I want to accomplish, or does that just kind of come together as you're putting the album together?
Yeah, I don't really work in the concept album framework necessarily. I mean, maybe that's a challenge I should put for myself.
Sure. I guess I don't mean necessarily conceptual but in a way of like, this is how I feel in this moment of time, and that I want this to kind of be conveyed. I guess it's more like an objective that you're trying to attain.
I don't know if, I would say no to that because the problem with when I write a song, it kind of just comes out of nowhere for me. Like I pull them out of the ether to a certain degree, and I think a lot of artists do that as well.
Right.
And when that happens, you don't always necessarily know what they're about yet.
Right.
So you have to kind of assign something to them to make them meaningful in some way. And so, and then like what I'll do is I'll sit on the in front of a book or something or computer writing lyrics, and sometimes it's just gibberish and I don't really know what it actually means yet until I sing it and say, oh, that line really works really well, or like this phrase works really well here, and then I develop the song around that. And so it's usually like there's like a phrase that happens, and then everything else kind of falls into place after that.
Well, and I think too, you were saying, this idea of assigning meaning. I mean, if you did, as you said yourself, the listener's going to assign some different meaning to it anyway. They're going to take it and it's going to mean something completely different. And it can be literally just a line they pull from the song.
Yeah.
Changes everything, how they process that.
I guess what I mean is like a lot of my song titles don't have like a direct like message in them in some way. You know, like they don't say like love you or
Sure.
you know, I mean those more like common sort of like song ideas, but I don't know. I mean, I guess that, you know, maybe like the song titles are sometimes even like abstracted from the song themselves.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, sure. I think you know, there's a lot of bands, I guess, you know, they name their songs one thing, and there's like, wait a minute, that title means it doesn't have anything to do. I know that
I'm not into that. Like I won't write like a title that has nothing to do with the song. It has to like fit what's going on in some way.
Right,
you know?
right. We just have to get inside the mind of AJ Rosales to understand maybe exactly what that is.
Yeah.
What else is going on, man? Have you you recording, or you got shows coming up, or anything you're playing around?
Right now I'm actually kind of on a little bit of a hiatus because I am focused on finishing all these tunes, and so my main goal right now is basically to get back in the studio. That's my hopefully at some point. But
where do you like to record? Where's it play?
Well, I've done quite a few projects at Gravity on North Avenue. Doug McBride is the owner there, and he and I have a little bit of a camaraderie, if you will, after so many years of working on different projects. And so, and the last project that I did there, he recorded Manifestations too, and it turned out so great. I actually managed to have it mastered at Abbey Road Studios.
Very nice, man.
Which is a total, like, I thought, like, this album is so good, like, can I possibly convince Abbey Road Studios to master my album? And I asked them, I was just like, this is just like a shot in the dark, and they did it. So I was like, wow.
I think, right, sometimes all I got to do is just ask.
Yeah.
And how would you ever know if you didn't actually just take that chance?
Yeah, but I think that's like a testament not only to, like, Doug's recording engineering, but also the music and the way that it was produced and everything. It just kind of all came came together at that moment. So.
Yeah. Are you got anything that's going on that in life going on? Any big stuff that?
Well, not that I would want to talk about on the radio necessarily.
Oh man, we're letting it all hang out here, AJ. Yeah. This is like an old Barbara Walters interview. So.
I don't know. It's like I feel like I have like this tunnel vision right now where I'm just trying to like finish these songs.
I understood, man.
And like I spend a lot of my time like either writing lyrics or writing. Like I write like I guess before I even start rehearsing every day, I usually noodle a little bit on my guitar, and sometimes that noodle ends up being like video recorded for myself. I think, well, that could work for something, and so I have like this library of ideas that are almost like daily to a certain extent, and so there's a lot of them. Not all of them are great, but at least I got them on tape and I can like look at them later if I want to.
Yeah.
But like that kind of like that allows me to continually just keep writing more and more stuff, and it's sort of like a never-ending process where you're like always thinking about, like, if I go for a walk, I'm thinking about lyrics while I listen to.
Well, it sounds like you're just in the kind of period like where the iron is hot right now, and you're just kind of going with it.
Yeah, so. It's just like I feel like you can't stop, because once you stop, you lose momentum, and so I just want to keep the momentum going and just go for it.
Has there been time over the course of your pursuits that maybe things have kind of ground down a little bit to like you're
totally.
Yeah.
Actually, there was a 7-year period where I barely touched my guitar at all. When I was in my 30s.
Yeah.
How old am I now? But I mean, that was a weird time because I focused a little bit more on my day career as an architect and let that go by the wayside. But what ended up happening as a result of that, which is interesting, is that I learned how to rediscover the guitar after all those years not really paying that close of attention to it. And for some reason, I found something different and new in it that really spoke to me. And this is maybe like 7 or 8 years ago when this happened to me. But it really kickstarted this whole process with this new album and all these new songs. And like I was not writing anything before that, and then all of a sudden there's like this gush of music came out.
You just needed to step away, it sounds like, man.
Maybe that's the case. I think what ended up happening is, for some reason, I found a different voice all of a sudden. I don't know how to explain it, but that's the best way to put it.
Yeah. Do you find that like your work as an architect, there's a technical side of it, but you also there's an art to it. There's a craft to that.
Yeah.
Does it work simultaneously, that correlate at all with your music pursuits at all? Do you find?
Yes. I mean, there's actually a lot of architects I think that want to be that are wannabe musicians.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, because I come from theater world. All actors feel like want to be musicians. There's always this part of them that wants to have that because it's performing. You know, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, yes, because I mean the technical side of both music and I mean architecture and engineering and stuff like that. That's very is it right brain? I think that's like a right brain sort of thing. But then like the art and the feeling in it is more left brain. So like I think you have to develop both of those lobes of your brain to do both of those things.
Yeah.
But in music, I think it's less about, for me anyway, it's less about like the technicality of it. Like I'm not like Yngwie Malmsteen or anything like that.
Sure.
I'm not gonna like rip out.
But you're a very good player, man.
Yeah, I mean, I always try to treat that kind of approach with like that it suits the song in some way. It's not like I'm just masturbationally like playing notes.
Sure,
in some way,
sure.
So
When did you start playing?
so I actually started playing music a long time ago when I was 5 years old, and I was not a guitar player when I first started. I was a piano player, and that actually, if you listen to my stuff really closely, you'll understand a lot of my voicings are kind of like unusual voicings, and this not only is that because of the fact that I play dadgad tuning on my guitar, but it's also because I have like this library of like chords in my head after playing classical music for such a long time. So I'm bored with like E minor 7 and A major and like, the typical thing that everyone might write with. So I like sus 4 and add 13 and
Yeah, I think I've been talking to people come on the show. I think piano to guitar is a pretty it happens often. There's a leap in there, and also, and again, a lot of times you're being asked to play classical music or whatever it is, and it kind of you can maybe take some of that with you when you start playing the guitar.
Yeah, and especially for me, like I felt like that training really kind of put blinders on me in terms of like what I could approach creatively from like a creative standpoint on the piano. So I was hampered by it almost. And here I am. I picked up a guitar and I felt free for the first time. I was like, oh wow, this is great. I can do whatever I want.
Right.
So,
do you play anything else?
I've dabbled in many, many other things. I have like this collection of unused instruments in my house that doesn't just collecting dust right now. But I mean, not seriously. I'm not anymore. Yeah. So.
Is there anything you want to pursue? Is there anything you haven't tried that you're like, man, I want to pick this up one day?
Yeah, actually, this may sound weird, but I've always wanted to play a Celeste.
Yeah, it's a beautiful sound.
It's a very beautiful sounding instrument.
Yeah, it's a beautiful sounding instrument.
Yeah.
What's holding you back?
I don't have one.
Besides that, yeah. I don't even. Is that an expensive instrument? I don't even know. Is that
I think it is because it's all glass tubes, so it's very fragile.
Very fragile, and I'm sure the craftsmanship is. Yeah, these guys are top-notch artisans. Anything you wanted to say out there for any shout-outs you want to give, or anything you want to tell the listeners before we get out of here?
Well, yeah. So I mean, just go to my YouTube channel if you want to see more. Or my website, ajrocks.net. That's very easy to remember, hopefully. AJROX with an X, it's not ROCKS, it's ROX.net. And you'll find me, and hopefully I'll be playing some shows in the near future and not just doing online things. So.
Well, you're going to be focused on getting this album done, so.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to do one more before we get out of here?
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
So, this is called Dinosaur. Seem a strange proponent
Is that a new one?
Fairly new, yeah.
Fairly, yeah. Cool. AJ, thanks so much, man.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. So
Yeah,
much,
it was great chatting with you. And as you get close to getting this album released, man, be sure and shoot it my way. And I'm happy to spin it on the show, man.
Thank you so
Cool.
much.
Thank you. AJ Rosales live from the Q4 studio.